Hello and welcome to another edition of Progtor Who Locked Down. I'm your host Bob, and I'm joined this time by a pair from a podcast called the Sirens of Audio, in the form of Dwayne Bunny. Hi,
Hello.
Dwayne.
How
Hello,
are you?
Dwayne. To be fair, he's on the other side of the world, so if there's a if there's a gap, that'll be why. And Philip Heady, is that right for your last
It's
name?
just Edney, actually. Edney.
Edney, Philip
Yep.
Edney. Hello, Philip.
Hi, how you going?
I'm good. How are you guys? You all right?
Yeah, great.
Excellent. How was your lockdown been, by the way? Because this is the first time I've had people on the lockdown podcast that have not been in the UK or in England. So I know you're in Australia, aren't you, Philip?
Yes, indeed. I'm in Sydney.
Sydney.
No, I'm not sure.
That's Alexa
Yes,
talking
and
to me. Sorry, Alexa. Sorry, I'll ask that again. Alexa just started talking to me. I'll just start that bit again. So, Philip, you're in Australia. Is that right?
Yes, I'm in Sydney.
Oh,
So we like to think it's the capital. It's not technically the capital. That's really Canberra, but we pretend it is because this is the place to come to.
excellent.
Come to Sydney
And you're-
first.
Sydney first. You're in Tasmania, Dwayne. Is that right?
Yeah, well, actually, that's where I'm based. But I heard you say that I was in Tasmania the other day on when I heard your Progtor Who episode.
Ah,
But I've escaped the little island now, and I'm actually in Darwin, which is the top end of Australia, as far as like Mick Dundee territory. That's where I am at the moment.
wow. Right. Okay. Traveling round.
I am. Yeah, I was. Things started coming. You asked about the lockdown, how it was. So we had a pretty serious lockdown for about 6 weeks throughout the whole country.
Right.
In March, April, was it, Philip?
April, May. Yep.
Yeah, and things started coming good. We had the states were all wanting to close their borders, which a lot of them did. And I had this 6-month road trip planned. And I was supposed to leave on the 5th of April, which about a week before that's when everything blew up. So I had to change my plans. I was quite flexible with my plans. So when things started relaxing, I got out of Tasmania again, started traveling the mainland. And 2 days after I got out of Victoria, the second wave blew up in Victoria, and the borders were closed there. So I escaped just in time.
Right.
And it's been sort of making its way up the east coast, and I'm as far as I can be from where it's all happening in this country anyway, which is great. That's why you can see my caravan in the background there. That's what I'm living in at the moment. So it's been fun.
Excellent. So that's good. I mean, because Australia is quite big, isn't it? Let's be honest. You know, the UK is minuscule in comparison. So has it been like regional lockdowns you've been doing over there, or was it just total blanket lockdown?
Well, the whole country did a lockdown for April and May.
Yeah.
As they try to get control of it. And then we started to move. We got our numbers down really well, and we're looking really good. But unfortunately, Victoria, which is one of our southern states, just a few issues they had with their They had everyone flying in from overseas has to go into a hotel and be locked in for the first couple of weeks. But a number of people were leaving the hotel, and there was a few issues with security guards, and the whole thing just blew out of control. So Victoria at the moment
security
has
guards with the old hanky-panky in the hotel quarantine couldn't get their hands themselves, and that's how it got out. Seriously.
What? Because security guards were having relations with quarantine people.
They were, and then going back to their families, and there's a few celebrations they went to. So there was actually one family of 20 people who all got infected from one security guard who'd been
cavorting. Oh, that's amazing.
And then that family of 20 then went to, a lot of them worked in a local meatworks factory. Yeah. They went to 200 people there. And then, and unfortunately, to all the nursing homes as well. And so Victoria is getting hundreds of cases a day. So we've just locked them off to the rest of Australia. The rest of Australia, New South Wales, Sydney yesterday had 9 cases, which we're pretty happy with.
Yeah.
But we were getting 12, 15 for a week or two. So Sydney's sort of we're just tottering on the edge, nervous about what's happening. Yeah. And behaviours are still quite different. Yeah, masks are being worn a lot more, and people are being cautious. But yeah, we had a lockdown for about 6 weeks. So I have 6 kids, and so
Wow.
my wife's a physio, so she's at emergency service. So
Yeah.
she was still going off to the hospital every day. But I was home with our 6 kids, plus one of our children had a friend who wasn't feeling safe in her family situation, so she moved in as well. So
Wow.
we had a very packed house for a lot of weeks. But the fact there was so many actually kept life happening, and there
Yeah.
was always someone to go and talk to, play with, etc.
Definitely keep you entertained. That security guard story is brilliant. I think because you haven't had in Australia, you haven't had the severity of cases like in the UK because we're idiots. Or say our government are idiots, and obviously Trump's an idiot in America and that lunatic in Brazil. That's what we've been predominantly hearing about, and Italy a little bit. Whereas Australia, I think you must have dealt with it quite well. New Zealand, the lady over there, forgive me, I can't remember her name. She's absolutely
I
smashed
heard.
it. Yeah, she seems really cool. Like she knows what she's doing and all that. So it's just interesting to hear a different take from a different country, so far away as well. No, that's security guard story is brilliant. So that's amazing. So just a little tip for people: if you're a security guard working in quarantine, keep your dick in your pants. Um, well, guys, thank you, like I said, for joining me. So I mentioned, obviously, you both do the Sirens of Audio, which I was a guest on earlier this week, which was a delight, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me on. We did
It's
spare
great to have
parts.
you.
It was cool. It was really good. Do you want to tell us a bit about Sirens of Audio, either of you? Up to you.
Well, I had been listening to Progtor Who for many years, and there was another Australian podcast called Flight Through Entirety, which I'd been listening to as well. And both of those podcasts kind of inspired me. I wanted to do something but a little bit different, and I hadn't always enjoyed Big Finish and any audios actually, not just Big Finish, but there's other audios like BBV and other companies that have done Doctor Who spin-offs or Doctor Who related spin-offs. And I thought, well, maybe I could do something along those lines.
Mm.
And got someone lined up to join me as a co-host, but they couldn't do it for the first couple of episodes, and they kept putting it off. But I'd already sort of made plans and sort of went ahead, and it was really good because I went ahead with the first episode, which was reviewing the first Big Finish Doctor Who audio, the Sirens of Time, which is where the Sirens of Audio gets its name from, and went on to the second episode, and suddenly, for some reason, Stephen Wyatt, who wrote The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, popped up on my Facebook feed, and it just so happened that month the Big Finish release was going to be The Psychic Circus, which was written by Stephen Wyatt, which was like a prequel to The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. And I thought, well, what if I just drop him a message and see if he wants to have a chat about it? And he got back to me in about 5 minutes saying, yeah, he'd be happy to. So that started me off on being up on this idea of bringing someone in every month from the Big Finish monthly releases to talk to them about their particular episode. So since then, I've been able to talk to someone every month. So the last 5 monthlies, we've had a guest on who has been involved with it, usually a writer, sometimes a director or producer. But it's been real fun. And then one day I got a piece of audio feedback from Philip on a particular episode, and I thought he sounds very keen. He was commenting on a few posts that I'd made on Facebook. And I vaguely knew Philip because our time in involvement in the Doctor Who Club of Australia we were both there kind of around the same time, but we just kind of overlapped each other. So I'd gone from my involvement by the time Philip was taking over. So we vaguely knew each other, but I thought I'd ask him to come on, and it's been great. Been great to have someone to bounce off through the episodes.
No, definitely. I mean, I have obviously been listening to the podcast, and it's great. Big Finish it's cool, and you've got some really good people on it as well, like you say, Stephen White, and you had Nick Briggs on as well recently. So that's it's great. And then Philip. How did so you sent a bit of audio and then Dwayne approached you, did he, to come on as the co-host?
He did. So yeah, I guess I wasn't quite sure it was something I was up for doing or not. I wasn't quite sure. I've always got lots of opinions about things. So yeah, Dwayne.
That's what we like.
Yeah.
So it's been great. So I really enjoyed doing it. It's been good to bounce back. I'm enjoying, going back to some of my audios and re-listening to stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bit of a groove happening. We've got some. We just released an episode with Rob Valentine, who wrote the latest episode. This has been released with Big Finish. We have a couple of really big names coming up.
Bob Fleming. What?
Well, yeah, you as well. We've got some other big names coming up in the next couple of weeks. And some pretty exciting releases coming up.
Are you allowed to give us any more information, or is this secret big guest that you've got coming on?
Well, we haven't recorded yet, so let's keep it secret. But some very big names from the show, as well as So we're looking at cast members as well as
amazing.
We're talking from the classic series here, so yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's it's a good idea to wait till you record just to make sure that it happens.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Well, we've got Roger Delgado coming on next time, so that'll be interesting. I wish we did.
Awesome.
Imagine that. Let's get a seance lockdown with some awesome old Doctor Who actors like Roger Delgado. It'd be amazing. Well, that's Sirens of Audio, everyone. Check that out. Get subscribing, download it. It's great. Right, let's crack on into this lockdown. But before we do, let's have a song. Dwayne, give us your song, my friend.
Well, I think you're assuming that I'm going to go prog, because this is Progtor Who, and it's always been a bit of a beef of mine that you don't play enough prog. But I'm not going to play some prog. I'm going to play something else. A band that has really influenced me my entire life is a Scottish band called Big Country. Do you remember Big Country, Bob?
Oh, yeah. My dad had the tapes in the car, and we used to listen to... I'm right in saying there was an album with a green... It was quite a green front and sort of gold lettering or whatever. That's the one he had in the car. I don't know what it was called, but that's what he used to play in the car.
Crossing.
Yeah.
That was The Crossing. So that was the one with In a Big Country on it. But throughout the time that the lead singer was alive, they made 8 studio albums. And the 90s is often forgotten about. So I want to play a song from their 1993 album, The Buffalo Skinners, called, appropriate for lockdown. I want to play the opening track from that album called Alone.
Oh, excellent. Here it is. We all both all right? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great. Yeah.
Cool. Right, so we'll get into the first 4 questions, and then I'll come to you for a song at the end of this section, Flip. Okay. Dwayne, what was that delight that you furnished in our ears?
Well, that was Alone, which was the first single off Big Country's 1993 album, The Buffalo Skinners. They're actually still around, still touring. I saw Big Country in February this year in San Francisco and Sacramento. That's how much I love them. I'll travel that far to see them.
Wow.
So that was my last live gig over there in Sacramento in California. So. And then everything just blew up after that. So that was around Valentine's Day in February.
That's awesome that you got out to America, to watch Big Country before all this kicks off. Brilliant. Well, thank you for that, Dwayne. Right, I'm going to take you back in time a few months now, just the day before lockdown, and I'm going to ask you some questions, both Doctor Who related and non-Doctor Who related, of what you're going to take with you into lockdown. So I'm going to start with you, Dwayne. From the world of Doctor Who, so you're going to need some company during lockdown. Which Doctor Who companion would you take with you? And it doesn't have to be a companion. It could be anyone from the world, just anyone from the world of Doctor Who.
Someone to be my companion.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about this, and I thought a good laugh would be the Time Meddler. So I'd love to take the Time Meddler along. Can you imagine him watching? I've watched a lot of news during lockdown and just shook my head in disbelief. Can you imagine the Time Meddler sitting there thinking, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to change this future? I think he'd be very good. And in the world of Big Finish, the Time Meddler's been recast at least twice, Philip. I can't remember if there's any more. I can think of 2 off the top of my head. Graham Garden was one of the meddling monks, and Rufus Hound is the other one. But I like the original one as well from the Hartnell years. So I think what's his name? Is it Peter?
Peter Butterworth.
Yeah,
he's brilliant.
Peter Butterworth. Take him. He'd be a laugh. Good luck.
No, that's a good one. He's awesome. Philip, how about you, sir?
I'm going to be traditional. I'm going to take Sarah Jane Smith with me.
Ah.
My first companion, probably my first love, was Sarah Jane. So she's intelligent, journalist, witty. She had lots of conversation. Elizabeth Sladen, I also got to meet one occasion too. She was a pretty amazing woman. So I was in London at a convention and went photos. And she talked about I'd come from Australia. And so she said, "Oh, well, what are you doing at 7 o'clock?" And I said, "Oh, nothing." She said, "Okay, get a table and buy me a drink." And so I sat down for the night with Elizabeth, and people kept coming over, and we sat and drank for the night. And it's a great night.
That is an awesome story, Philip.
What
by
an
the way.
awesome experience.
So basically, Sarah Jane Smith asked you out then, Philip, by the sound of it.
Well, I had to pay. She wasn't going to pay for the drinks. She said, "Organise the table, and you could buy me a drink." And I went, "Yep." So I bought her drinks all night.
Amazing. Oh, it's worth it, though, isn't it? That'll just be it.
It was worth it for sure.
That's great. Right, from the world of not Doctor Who, which person would you take with you as your companion, Dwayne?
Well, I would say Stuart Adamson, who was the lead singer of Big Country up until he died in 2001. But I would take him. He had some very interesting worldviews, very ahead of his time, and I should have chosen someone we could have more of a laugh about. But he was a very ahead of his time, and someone who was extremely influential in my life. I would love to take him along for the ride.
What do you mean by view? What sort of views? Just give us an example. I'm interested.
Big Country was big at the same time as U2 and Simple Minds, but Stuart often refused to go down the commercial routes that those bands took, and they were kind of directed by music companies and things like that. He just wanted he was very determined to make music the way he wanted to make it, and no one was going to tell him what to do. So, and he did that for his entire life. So that was one view. And in a lot of the lyrics, he's very observational in the lyrics. So it's not all about your typical romance or jaded lyrics. There's all very deep meanings in everything and stories behind everything. So that's what I love about his stories.
Well, like one of them proper songwriters and that. Awesome. Because you don't, because a lot, like you say, a lot of the more commercial world, it is more about like a catchy hook of love or something like that, in it, But no, that's cool. So that's your companions then, Dwayne, that you're taking into lockdown. Philip, how about you from the world of not Doctor Who?
Well, I was going to take a musical person as well. One of my passions is musical theatre, and so I was going to take Stephen Sondheim. So while he's still alive, I'd love to be able to just grill Stephen about a lot of the stuff he's written, and also trying to get one more musical out of him before he went.
What sort of stuff has he done, Philip? Because I don't know him, so just tell us a bit about him, because he sounds a fascinating character.
Yeah, so American musical theatre. So Sweeney Todd. You probably know the song "Sin and the Clowns."
No, so I'm rubbish with stuff like that. But I appreciate it, but I'm not very up on it, I'm afraid.
Okay, so he's written about 15 musicals, including West Side Story. And you might have heard of. Yeah, so he goes back to West Side Story, which he did the words for. But he's written musicals about. There's a musical called Assassins, which is all about all the people who tried to kill the presidents of America. And so it just focuses on all these murderers and why they did it. And it's hilarious. It's black humor. He's a very black humor person.
Yeah.
So Sweeney Todd, which is one of his famous ones, is about a man who's going back to get revenge on a man who killed his wife and child.
Right.
But in the process, he becomes a barber. He kills people. And Mrs. Lovett, who owns the pie shop downstairs, bakes them all into pies. And so, she cooks the best meat pies in London, but it's just different people. They're eating flesh. And so they're very black, but he's very clever with his words. He's written Company, Into the Woods. So many musicals, but a very witty, smart man.
That assassin sounds brilliant, by the way. That sounds really cool. And a musical
It,
about the potential
it,
murderers of presidents.
it really is, and everything actually changes styles.
Yeah.
So there's this beautiful love ballad, which is all about this. I forget what his name was now. The one who was in love with Jodie Foster.
Oh yes, the guy that killed
try,
John Lennon, wasn't it? Was that the guy that killed?
No, he tried to shoot Ronald. He shot Ronald Reagan.
That's Ronald Reagan. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But it's this beautiful ballad about I would do anything for you, and it sounds beautiful and lovely. And then when you understand what's going on, which is he's about to go and kill someone to prove his love, you sort of go, "Oh, this is really funny, but dark, but awful." And for the one who killed, for Wilkes Booth who killed Lincoln, it's banjos, and so the music style changes depending on the assassin. But it looks at the American psyche and the whole look of guns and what guns do, and worth listening to.
Can I say it sounds awesome? I'm actually going to check that out. It does sound great. I watched a documentary because I've watched a few of these things on Netflix because I like murder and all that kind of sort of sinister documentary stuff. And there was one on the Ronald Reagan guy with the Jodie Foster thing, and Jodie Foster did an interview and that. I mean, imagine being Jodie Foster. The assassin is attempted to kill the president of the United States because he's infatuated with you. It'd just be super spooky and scary, wouldn't it? Because it's obviously the media attention behind that is going to be massive. But yeah, that's a cool choice. Cool choice. Right, we're going to move on to adversary. So from the world of Doctor Who, you've got your companions, you've got your company, but you're going to need adversary to sort of play off or to keep you entertained. So from the world of Doctor Who would be your adversary, Philip?
Well, I actually chose the meddling monk. So I was amused that Brad had picked him for a companion because I think he's a baddie. I don't know why you'd put him as a good person. But I just thought, once again, in terms of playing games, in terms of keeping you occupied, I didn't want anyone too bad. I mean, you don't want Daleks along. You don't want the Master, watch your back the whole time, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
But the meddling monk gets up to lots of mischief, but he's always funny with it. So, yeah. That's
a fine choice. The meddling monk's awesome. It's one of them special stories of Time Meddler to me. Because in the UK, we had like a 30th anniversary episodes where they replayed the Time Meddler, Brain, the Sea Devils, and so on. So it's one I managed to get on video and watch the hell out of. It's awesome, and he's awesome. Is Peter Butterworth as the Time Meddler. Dwayne, how about you?
For me, it would be Sharaz Jek.
Wow!
Because I think he would do really well in a lockdown situation. He's spent a lot of time underground and surrounded by not many people. So. And he's a guy who can make androids. So if we want some more company, we don't have to socially distance from androids. So we can just hang around them.
That's classy. You come out of lockdown with an army of androids and take over the world, Dwayne. Basically, that's not a bad idea. Give you something to do in lockdown, that's for sure. So from the world of not Doctor Who, Philip, who would you take with you as an adversary?
So I was thinking, who's the biggest villain of the world at the moment? So I was considering Donald Trump.
Yep.
Let's take him out of the picture. Lock him up somewhere where he might be causing less problems. And he's always amusing. Anything he has to say, you just have to laugh at because it's just so off the planet.
Yeah.
But if maybe that's just going too evil. The other thing about was maybe Q from Star Trek.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I think Q once again, anything time he wants something, he can just get it. He's got those sort of total powers. And you'd always be able to get anything you needed if Q was around.
Yeah, and he's a brilliant entertainer. I think a lot of people. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, John Delancey is hilarious. One of my this is a secret fact about me is I watch Days of Our Lives, and it's an American soap opera, really bad.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to watch it. John Delancey actually started as a character on Days of Our Lives. And so when we went across the Star Trek, I already knew the actor, and he was just as crazy and unpredictable on that show.
He's amazing. I mean, Q is was one of my favourite. Because what I love about villains like that, like the Time Meddler, like Q, is that you can't help but sort of love them, and there's some good in them, and it's all just about not messing about, but just amusement for them, isn't it? It's I think villains like that are much cleverer than your sort of black and white good and evil. But that's a fine choice, Philip. Dwayne, how about you?
Well, I haven't heard too many podcasts talk about this character or even this TV show, but and I haven't even seen the second series completely yet. But I was thinking about Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, the remake, the recast version, the female version of her, not the male version from the old series. But I'm choosing characters that I kind of like. I watched Lost in Space with a friend, and he could not stand Dr. Smith, but I kind of like the way she weaseled her way out of things, and I think there's a lot I could probably learn from her. So I think for a villain that you got to have by your side during lockdown, I think there's a lot you could learn from Dr. Smith.
Definitely. I mean, because what I like about that, you think eventually when they've caught her, or they've caught a whatever plan she's scheming, that oh no, she's fine now, that she's out of the picture, and then suddenly she gains more power. As the show goes on, she's a really scary kind of scary villain, really. No, that's a good choice, man. That's a good choice. Right. Next question. So, from the world of Doctor Who, what gadget or device would you take with you into lockdown, Dwayne?
Well, I like the retro devices. So I was thinking potentially the time space visualizer, but it's got a really small TV, doesn't it? So you want to adapt it for a big plasma or something. So as long as the time space visualizer had a big plasma screen, I'd love to take that with me. So we could just tune into any period in history, tune forward 6 months or so, and see if we're out of lockdown or whatever. And I think that'd be a handy device to have.
That'd be an amazingly entertaining device to have that you can see any point in time. It'd be awesome, yeah. That's a good one. We don't have that one either. Philip, how about you?
I think Dwayne and I are thinking similar periods of time. I was thinking about the TARDIS food machine.
Yes.
Like, you never know when you're going to be hungry. You don't know what you're going to have on hand. You might not be able to get to the shops. So just grab the TARDIS food machine and then just program in anything number you need for water or whatever else. It's always there for you.
That's a cool choice, man. Get I want a chicken curry. It just comes out as a block of But no, protein bar, chicken curry. Wow. So from the world of not Doctor Who, what gadget or device would you take with you, Dwayne?
Well, for Doctor Who stuff, I was actually thinking megabyte modem as well, just because I like the name of it, but I have no idea what it does. But for non-Doctor Who, probably a quantum accelerator, because I loved the way Sam Beckett could just jump into anybody and have a bit of adventure. So a quantum leap accelerator would be pretty cool to have. So you could jump around history in your own timeline.
Yeah, I'd jump into the body of that security guard that spread COVID all over Victoria. Try and stop him getting up to no good. How about you, Philip?
Can I just take my iPhone? I can't imagine
yes.
without my phone at the moment.
We've had that one before. It's it's just everything, isn't it? Now on my iPhone, I've got sat nav, music, TV, calls, text,
torch, calculator. I never use it. I hardly ever use it ever as a telephone. But it's just part of the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, that is a good one. Yeah, that's been on before. It's crazy, like when you think about like all this stuff in this tiny little thing, and before this sort of technology, which wasn't that long ago, you'd have your AA route planner, you'd have your cassettes in the car, in the glove box everywhere, CDs, and just everything was everywhere. Now it's in this tiny little device, books, everything, isn't it? It's awesome. I love my iPhone. Cool. Right, so you've got your companions, you've got your adversaries, you've got your gadgets. So we want to be sat somewhere nice. So I'm going to come to you first, Philip. Which TARDIS interior would you decorate one of your lockdown rooms with?
So once again, nostalgic-wise, I think I want to go for the wooden TARDIS from season 13. So the first episode I saw of Doctor Who was The Mask of Mandragora. So which was that console room, and I just always loved that one so much. So I love the wooden console, all the panels. I thought it was so sad to come back. Though I think when Paul McCann came back, that was sort of the idea they were going for.
Yeah,
just with a bit bigger budget.
A much bigger budget, yeah. That's a damn fine TARDIS, that, Philip. Dwayne, how about you?
I was going to go the wooden TARDIS because you can't beat that one.
Yeah.
But I changed my mind. I'm going for the Paul McGann telemovie TARDIS.
Yeah.
I think that's the most epic design they've ever had in the history of Doctor Who. Like, but the monitor is the whole ceiling, which is fantastic. You can just look out. Now they just open the door these days and look out the door. But imagine that whole monitor screen on the ceiling, which was pretty cool. And I love the little record player that he's got in there. You can't go without a record player and a bit of prog.
Oh no, it's fine choices, absolutely. Cool. So from the world of not Doctor Who, Philip, what decor would you decorate another room with, shall we say?
So in terms of totally over the top decor, but somewhere that I love to be. So a few years back spent some time in the Summer Palace. It's in Petersburg. So it's what is it? I guess it's 18th century Russian decor. But the Summer Palace is it's spectacular in terms of its detail, and you can understand why the people rebelled with all the money that was being spent by the Tsar at the time. But it is just the most beautiful place. The gardens, the interiors, the paintwork, the pinks, the greens. That's one of the places I just have spent so much time at and just loved.
Amazing. No, that sounds beautiful. How about you, Dwayne?
Well, you know, Bob, I've always had a bit of a love affair with Yorkshire.
Oh, yeah.
Probably because my parents forced me from a very young age to watch weekly episodes of All Creatures Great and Small. So I really like the sitting room in that house of Siegfried Farnan. So that's probably the way I decorate it, just like that sitting room. My grandparents had a house that was very similar to that room as well. So, and just because of the sentimental, the good feelings I get out of that kind of space, I'd have it like that.
Comfy chairs. Fun fact for you, Alf White, who James Herriot, James Herriot's real name, his grandson used to play keyboard in my band for a while.
Oh.
There you go. He now
Is that right?
Yeah, he now plays in the Foo Fighters UK tribute band as well. So
cool.
yeah, he's cool. He's a really cool guy. But yeah, and he like you, I was brought up with All Creatures Great and Small. So when he joined the band and I found this out, I'd always introduce him as that, and he hated it. And I just always loved talking about it. He was like, he couldn't understand why. It was just really funny. But I was like, oh, cool to do it. Because just down the road from us, it is Thirsk, where his museum is, James Herriot or Alf White. We used to practice at his house with his parents and that. So yeah, it was cool.
Nice.
So yeah, a little fun fact there that never comes up normally. So that's cool to get that out. Right. So it's time for another song, Philip. This time, please, will you give us a song, my friend?
So you're happy to take any sort of song?
Any song. Okay.
Well, I've already mentioned my passion for musical theatre.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I've become quite obsessed with Hamilton, the musical.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm not sure if you got to see it. It's just recently been released, so you can actually see it on one of the streaming services. And there's a song in that called Satisfied. It's by one of the main female characters. The whole musical is about Alexander Hamilton in America. But he's introduced to one character who falls in love with him and they end up getting married. But immediately after that first song, which is the whole meeting, the courtship, and the engagement all happens in one song, the whole musical goes backwards in time, and you have another song, which is the song called Satisfied, which is the sister saying how she's also in love with Hamilton, but she had to hand him over to her sister for various reasons. And so the song's all about why she couldn't have him and why she gave it to her sister instead.
Awesome.
So it's called Satisfied.
So for the first time on Progtor Who, we have musical theatre. This is awesome. That's cool. That's brilliant. That's much more entertaining than pop, which we get a lot of, Craig. That's me pointing at him. Brilliant. He's both all right, yeah? So we got three questions.
Yeah, good.
Three questions left, and then just a couple of other bits at the end. Right. Well, thank you for that, Philip. What was that again? Sorry, what was that song?
So Satisfied from the musical Hamilton. Bit of rap there, modern rap, by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Cool. That was awesome. Thank you very much indeed. Well, you're listening to Progtor Who, and we're locked down with Dwayne Bunny and Philip Edney, and this is a lot of fun so far, but we've got a few questions left in the tank. So I'm going to come to you, Dwayne. From the world of Doctor Who. So you've got all your bits now, but you need something to wear. From the world of Doctor Who, it doesn't have to be a doctor, just any costume from Doctor Who. What would you wear? What would you take with you into lockdown, Dwayne?
Well, it's a bit boring because I've already got him as someone to keep me entertained, but it's Sharaz Jack, without a doubt. If I was ever going to cosplay something, the Sharaz Jack outfit with the mask was something that I wanted to do. I even looked into getting the mask done at one point, but never did it.
Yeah.
Something I wish I did, but I don't do much cosplay. I think the last time I did something, I put on a leather jacket and the green shirt and tried to be the Ninth Doctor. That's about all I can do.
So you
Sharaz Jack, without a doubt.
Say that again, Philip.
You in the tight leather, Dwayne. That'd be very interesting.
Yeah,
I tell you what. As I've got a bit older, it would be very interesting with the shape you get as you get a bit older. You wouldn't know about that, Bob, because you're so young. But anyway.
Lockdown hasn't been good to me, put it that way. I've not done very much movement. Would you get the sort of the bit underneath the mask as well? Would you go that far so you could take the mask off or whatever, so you'd have the full burnt face?
Yeah, why not? Let's go there.
Yeah, well,
great.
I don't think it'd be very comfortable doing it, I'll be quite honest with you, but you look cool, man. That's all that matters.
That's the main thing.
How about you, Philip?
I'm thinking about comfort myself. Interesting, Dwayne keeps coming up with stuff. I'm saying that I was going to think the Ninth Doctor Ninth Doctor outfit. I think I'd have all the costumes of doctors. That's the most sensible, comfortable, and I love the leather jacket. So I think I'd be going Ninth Doctor.
That's fair enough. And from the world of not Doctor Who, Dwayne, what would you wear?
Oh, no questions. I'm still going black leather, but Avon from Blake 7. Avon with his black leather outfit and the spikes on his shoulders, on his shoulder pads. Got the spikes coming off. That's what I want.
Paul Darrow, isn't it? Who plays Avon. I love Paul Darrow.
It.
Cool. Why? Have you got some sort of fetish, Dwayne?
Too much leather. Just too much leather.
Spikes in the shoulders.
I didn't think I had a fetish, but I think it's all coming out. I'm discovering things about myself I never knew before.
Yeah. Welcome to therapy lockdown. Brilliant. Thanks, Dwayne. How about you, for the world of not Doctor Who? What would you wear?
Well, if we're going to lockdown, we might as well be comfortable. So I was thinking Arthur Dent.
Oh,
so just
yes,
pajamas the whole time. Pajamas, and he's it cracks me up the fact that for the entire series of books and movie TV show, he's in his pajamas.
Yeah.
Why he wouldn't get changed, I don't know. But the fact that he doesn't is just hilarious. So yeah, I just think just wander around the house, in your jammies for the whole time.
Oh, some comfortable slippers. I bet their slippers are lovely that he wears too.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Well, this is so I'm going to ask you what story from the Doctor Who world you'd take with you, and it is any story from the TV show, audio, books, anything, any Doctor Who story. Philip, which one would you take with you into lockdown and why?
Well, what I want to take is the Dalek Master Plan, all recovered, all episodes.
Yes.
Currently, there's only 3 in existence, but if I'm going to go into lockdown, I expect the rest to be found. So I think I'd like to take the Dalek Master Plan, because we just need it back. We need all 13 episodes recovered. But the 3 we have just show it's such a great story. And the audio, it's probably the first show I listened to on audio several times. So I actually know the story well. I think the acting is amazing. And just in terms of this epic story, probably the most epic story I think maybe Doctor's ever tried to tell. And they did it with nothing, hardly any budget, in tiny studios, but their boldness and their creativity, and I just want to see it all. So I would just be happy for months and months watching it over and over again. Have
you seen they did a recreation excuse me, of the prequel? So it's 12 episodes, but there's 13, like you said, because you've got the one at the beginning which doesn't
Mission to the Unknown. Yeah.
And have you seen the recreation of that the students did?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good effort that they put in. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't ask for it, but when watched it, I thought, you know what, that's pretty awesome what they've done there. I couldn't agree more. That would be lovely to see that again, Philip. Dwayne.
Well, I would take an audio because I love audio that much, and it would have to be The Chimes of Midnight. Pretty boring because lots of people love that story, but it's written by one of the best writers that either Big Finish or the TV series has used, and unfortunately the TV series has only used him once. That's Rob Shearman, who wrote Dalek, and I can listen to Rob Shearman stuff over and over again and never get sick of it. It just blows my mind. So I'm assuming that our smartphones are not a gadget that we take with us because they're just attached to us these days. So I'm going to have The Chimes of Midnight on my phone and have that blasting away.
Cool, man. That's a good choice. I need to have a re-listen to Chimes of Midnight. I've not listened to it for a long while, and I do love Rob Shearman. I think he is a brilliant writer. Cool.
Can I just tell you a quick Rob Shearman story?
So
I met Rob a few years ago at a convention and interviewed him on stage. But I've just started showing Doctor Who to my 10-year-old son. So it was his first time through it. And we got to the episode of Dalek, and my son sat on the edge of the chair, terrified, just leaning over into the TV. So I took a photo of him watching Dalek. And I actually sent it off to Rob and sort of said, just so you know, I'm watching this, watching Doctor Who for the first time. This is how my son sat for 45 minutes through your episode. and he's just sent me a lovely message back about how excited it was to see that the next generation still being enthralled. So he's an amazing man, and his writing is astounding. We need more from him. We really do.
Definitely. He's we've done a poll on Progtor Who for the next episode we're going to watch, and one of them is Dalek. To review, and it is. I just remember it like it sort of brought Doctor Who back properly. It brought something that Dalek back into Doctor Who, but it wasn't a naff Dalek. It was proper scary. Like I was 25 or whatever, and I was sat exactly like your 10-year-old son on the edge of my seat when that was on the television, and it was. And the way Chris Eccleston played it as well, the severity that he played it with, it was just incredible. Awesome episode. Cool.
Well, we were talking about Spare Parts the other day and how that was adapted from adapted to the TV series. Well, Dalek was also adapted from a Big Finish audio called Jubilee. It was more closely adapted than the Cyberman episode was. Still quite different. I think the Jubilee is a lot darker in many ways than the TV series TV episode ended up being, but so they've done a few adaptations now from Big Finish and books on TV. And
I was going to say, I think the annoying thing though about the Age of Steel or whatever is that because they got Rob Shearman in to write his story adaptation, they got Paul Cornell in to write his. They should have got Mark Platt to do the 2-part Sideman story. That's what they 100% should have done, which we talk about in our Sirens of Audio podcast as well. Cool. Right. So it's non-Doctor Who story, Philip.
I'd probably want to take Blake 7 with me. So my next favourite show after Doctor Who is Blake 7. Love watching that through. Always
Bob loves it too.
Oh, okay. Always fun.
I've never really seen it, and I've tried. I just couldn't get into it.
Oh, have some perseverance. Just struggle through. You can do it. We get to the first 4 episodes, or even start with season 4,
right? Which
is a bit lighter.
Yeah,
but no, it's worth doing. It's fantastic.
Cool. So Blake 7 for you. Now, we've had a few Blake 7 taken into lockdown. I need to watch it because we had a few Twin Peaks as well, which I'd never seen before. Now I'm an absolute obsessed Twin Peaks fan.
Twin Peaks is amazing.
Yeah, it's I've just done the whole 3 seasons or whatever, and it's just mind blowing stuff. And I've started a rewatch again. So, and even then, I'm getting everything out of it from seeing it all. It's just class. So we'll have to watch this Blake 7 because everyone keeps going on about it. This comes on the show. Brilliant. Cheers, Philip. Dwayne, how about you?
Well, I thought I'd take a book, and I've got a few favourite authors, but one of them is Philip K. Dick, who is the man responsible for movies like Blade Runner, series like The Man in the High Castle. And the book I would take is one that I haven't read for many, many years, but it's one that always left me with a pretty amazed feeling. It's a time travel story. It's called Dr. Futurity, about a guy from 2012 who travels forward in time about 400 years and discovers that no one really cares about people dying anymore, so they let people die and kind of try and breed the master race. And it's an interesting dystopian take on the future. That and ultimately the main character in the book is hunted down because he actually cures someone from a disease, and that is actually a criminal offence in the future from doing that. Interesting concept in today's day and age with our pandemic going at the moment. But yeah, Dr. Futurity is one. There's probably dozens of Philip K. Dick's books that I could possibly choose. Dr. Blood Money was another good one. But yeah, something by Philip K. Dick for sure.
Awesome.
I don't know. Did you see the new series Electric Dreams by any chance?
No,
which is an anthology series based on the short stories of Philip K. Dick. So series one's got 10 episodes, and so every episode is a different story based on a Philip K. Dick short story. Some of them are pretty mind-blowing. So if you haven't had a chance to see that yet, it's on Stan in Australia. I don't know where it's showing elsewhere in the world, but very good series, Electric Dreams. Check it out.
Cool. Lovely. Right, last question, gentlemen. I'm going to come to you first, Dwayne. So it's what your favourite memory relating to Doctor Who. So just to give you an example, it's not necessarily about the TV show. So my lovely memories of meeting Sylvester McCoy twice. And if I hadn't have had been a Doctor Who fan, that would never have happened. And meeting all the great people I've done on podcasts because of Doctor Who. So what's your favourite memory relating to being a Doctor Who fan, Dwayne?
I had a pretty massive weekend with a few different events that I was organising in Sydney about 2004, I think it was. So on the weekend, I had an event that I was organising featuring Tristram Carey, who did the music for the Daleks Master Plan, and I also had Dudley Simpson coming along. And then Keith Barnfather got in touch with me and said, Mark Strickson's in the area. Do you want him to come too? So I had Mark Strickson as well. So that was pretty amazing. But not only that, Keith Barnfather decided to fly over and do a Mythmakers for Tristram Carey. And I don't think he did the Tristram Carey one then, but he did one for Dudley Simpson. So my job was to take Keith over to Dudley Simpson's house because Dudley lived between here and Ireland. And there I was eating little sandwiches that Dudley Simpson's wife had made with his big grand piano in the side of the room, and just chatting about his time on Doctor Who. It wasn't the first time I met Dudley, so I knew what a nice fella he was, but it was a pretty amazing experience. But a few days prior to that, I'd been approached recently before that by Loose Cannon. So they were doing reconstructions. And they'd found out that Joseph First, who played Professor Zaroff in The Underwater Menace, lived not far from Sydney. And they asked me to go and interview him for the reconstruction. So I travelled up to the Central Coast where he was living, and it was an amazing experience. He was the nicest guy you could ever meet. He came to the door wearing an eye patch. So obviously he had some eye problem, but he looked like the world's best villain you've ever seen. And him and his wife took us out for lunch and told us about the story, telling us stories about when he was acting in the 30s in Austria, and the day that Hitler came and knocked on his dressing room door to congratulate him about his performance. And it was pretty amazing just talking to an actor because he'd been in Austria, started off there, moved to Canada, so he knew Sidney Newman that way. So because he'd worked for Sidney Newman at ABC, which was a Canadian broadcaster, was it? I think, or CBC. I can't remember. I think it was ABC. But anyway, and then to Australia. So I think around that he'd also worked with. He was in Diamonds Are Forever, James Bond film. Had quite a reasonable size speaking part in that, and. Yeah, it was an amazing. All that happened in the space of about 4 days in 2004. So that was a mind-blowing weekend for me. I'll never forget it.
That's mental. Hitler, having a story about Hitler knocking on your dressing room daughter congratulates you on your performance. Woo! That's cool, man. That's a good story, Dwayne. Philip, how about you, my friend?
Once again, I do feel so privileged to have had some amazing opportunities and meetings with people across time. I actually acted as guest liaison officer for a while for the Doctor Who Club of Australia. So as we had conventions, it was my job to organise the guests and to look after them. So one particular convention, which was just fantastic, we had Louise Jamieson, who plays Leela, come out. And so part of my looking after her was I got to take her across the Harbour Bridge. So we actually climbed the Harbour Bridge together with another friend of mine who introduced me to other people. And so the three of us managed to climb the Harbour Bridge together. And then we went to a pub in the Rocks and we just sat around in the sun, drinking and chatting and just having the most marvellous time. And then Camille Kaduri, who played Rose's mum, she also then came and joined us for dinner. And so it was the most unreal environment, sitting around, drinking cocktails with Leela and Rose's mum. But just, two amazing women who have done some amazing stuff, amazing actresses, and just talking all sorts of stuff, talking life. And so that's probably one of my highlights. But I've got others too. It's been a great journey.
Phil is wine 'em, dine 'em, aren't you? That's just how many girls from Doctor Who have you been in for drinks with? You absolute terror, you tyke.
I could tell you a few more too, for that matter.
A gentleman never tells, Philip. A gentleman never tells. So yeah, that's class. And yeah, I would love to hear more tales of you taking out Doctor Who ladies for drinks. Brilliant. So from the world of not Doctor Who, what's your sort of? I know it's a hard one, but from the world of not Doctor Who, Dwayne, what's your favourite memory?
Oh, I've got so many, but during my time on radio, I've been able to meet some of my favourite musicians. In fact, most of my top favourite musicians. And there was one stage where Stephen Wilson was he'd released his first solo album. I think that was back in 2009. I'd been over and I'd seen Porcupine Tree playing in Melbourne once, which was pretty mind blowing. And I tried to get an interview with Stephen Wilson, and they asked me to go through the record promoter in Australia. And they said, "Oh, you're just from Tasmania. We haven't got time for you." They were really rude to me. And I wrote back to the email address for Stephen, one of Stephen Wilson's little side record companies. And I said, "Look, I know I'm not going to sell you 1 million records. I'm not going to do this. Not going to make you a star in Tasmania. But what we want to talk about is the passion we have for your music. That's all we want to talk about. We have a love for it. We know how much you love it." And that person who got that email forwarded it straight to Stephen. Stephen got back and said, "Yep, do an interview." And then over the years, I interviewed him about 4 times. Probably my favourite time was when I went over to Melbourne and saw him playing with Porcupine Tree on their last tour, and got backstage with him for a while, did a proper interview with him backstage, and spent a good hour or so with him. That was pretty amazing. So, the next time he came, he remembered me, and that was pretty thrilling, because I know he's an underground kind of guy, but on the prog scene, he's like top of the pile. So, it was out of all the musicians that I've met and spoke to, he was probably the most nerve-wracking, but the most thrilling as well.
He's a lovely, lovely man, Steve Wilson. Because I know Jess Cope, who does his animation videos for him. And he is genuine. The people that work for him, these companies, like you're saying, they're very commercially led, where he's not. He's just leaves them to it. He's the artist, and he's just a lovely, lovely man. In fact, I've got a signed still from Drive Home, signed to me from Stephen Wilson and Jess Cup. So there we go. But yeah, he's incredible. I've seen Porcupine Tree twice. And the best I've seen Steve Wilson was at the Sage in Gateshead last year, I think it was, maybe. And it was just the best I've seen him. He was so much fun as well. He was just really funny and just top guy. And the band were absolutely on fire. Craig Blundell on drums, who I randomly met at work because he came into our video studio to shoot some demos for Roland. He does a lot of Roland demos. And I met him and had a chat with him because he got a lot of shit to Craig Blundell. After Marco Miniman, Steve Wilson's the best drummers around and all that. But Craig Blundell absolutely owns this job now. And it's because Steve Wilson went, "Don't listen to the fans. Just, I think you're mint." So That's all that matters. So don't listen to them. And then, yeah, he's just classed. The band he's got lined up now is just incredible. It's the best I've seen Steve Wilson, definitely. And it was funny because they did what's the poppy song called? You know, off the what was it called? There's a 3-minute pop song he did because basically he just said like, I love all music and I've done a 3-minute pop song, and I know there's going to be loads of balls men in King Crimson t-shirts that hate this song, but I want you to get up, all of you get up and dance, have a dance. And it was really funny. So we all got up and a dance, and there was literally big bald men in King Crimson t-shirts sat there grumpy like that while they played this song. But yeah, it was just, yeah, he's ace, man. He's great, and it's, you know, and he's a nice person and also an absolute genius. That is one thing he is. I've never heard music like it and experienced music like it. I think he's a pioneer of 5.1 mixing because not many people can do it. And I've listened to all the Porcupine Tree and 5.1 at my mate's house. Whew. It's a journey, man. It's a journey. Cool. Philip, how about your non-Who favourite memory, please?
Well, once again, there's so much to choose from. A large part of my parenting, my wife's parenting, in terms of building memories for our kids. So I guess the most recent exciting one, about 18 months or so ago, my wife and I, we won a free trip. Got a free trip to New York and a cruise to Bermuda and back. And so we decided to fly all our kids over to join us. And so after my wife and I had a 2 weeks lovely time together, the kids all flew over and we had 3 weeks in the States. So we spent over a week in New York doing Broadway, doing shows, doing Central Park and museums, art galleries. We road tripped down to Washington, doing different things there, and did all the West Wing stuff. Yeah. Because my boys are big West Wing fans, so we did all the West Wing sites, and then we flew over to LA just to do Disneyland for 3 days. And just the kids, I actually expected, because my kids, the age was ranging from 9 to 21. And so I expected the big kids would go off by themselves, but we actually all stuck together for every ride for 3 days. And so it was just, amazing family time. And it's just the thing that kids keep talking about. They talk about the rides, they talk about the theaters we went to, the shows we saw. Just so many memories from, it's an amazing trip.
That sounds awesome. So you and your wife won a free trip, and then you flew the kids over, and
it was a business trip for our work. So so the business, it was a business reward trip for what we've been doing with our business. Yeah. So we did that first. We thought it'd be cheap in terms of, we already had the flights ourselves, which were free. So we thought I'd come. It's only 6 kids we're flying over, but it wasn't as cheap as we expected. but worth every cent.
It sounds amazing. Well, thank you very much for sharing with us everything you've taken to lockdown. It's been ace, lad. So cheers for that. I've got a couple more bits before we go. First is, please advertise your wares. Where can we find you?
You can find us at sirensofaudio.com. On Twitter, we're at Audio Sirens. We're on Facebook as well. And directly through Anchor, anchor.fm/Sirens of Audio. That's the podcast.
Awesome. Have you got any ways to advertise, Philip, apart from the podcast?
No, the podcast is fine. Other ways, but that's a different life.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, lads. So I'm going to come to you for a recommendation each. So basically just something to recommend our listeners for lockdown that you think could be a nice thing to have, TV show, book, whatever, just some form of medium entertainment that you would recommend. Philip, how about you first, sir?
Well, at the moment, once again, just loving a lot of the new stuff that Big Finish are putting out. And so just finished listening to Robots Series 2. And so if you'd like the Doctor Who, so the Robots of Death, the Doctor Who story is one of my favorites. This is the box set, 2 box sets they've done so far, set in the world of Cawdor. So it's using Cawdor settings. They've just introduced a story with Tushan Powell. Is that right? Paul, I'm saying that properly? Tushan Poole, who are in the original show, but it's just character settings, political drama, and looking at technology and how it changes. And so those are 2 excellent box sets I can highly recommend. But also, if you're on the Big Finish site, have a listen to some of their originals. One of the things that Big Finish did for their 20th anniversary was set up a whole series of original, not Doctor Who related at all, dramas. And there's some amazing original productions they've done. They've done one on Cicero, which is really well done. They've got a series of women pilots called At a Girl, which Louise Jamison conceived and put together. And they've got an amazing spy one too with Alex Kingston. I can't think what it's called off the top of my head. It's one word. But if you like crime drama and suspense, she's a
It's
psychiatrist.
Transference, isn't it?
Transference, thank you. She's a female psychiatrist seeing this patient who she thinks there's something wrong with, and is he actually a mass murderer? Is he a murderer? And the feed just builds and builds throughout the 6 episodes.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, lots of audio. Listen to audio, it's fantastic.
Brilliant, thanks, Philip. And Dwayne, recommendation from you, sir?
I haven't watched a lot of television since I've been on the road. I've been on the road for probably 6 weeks now. But before we did, and during lockdown, my wife and I got into a series on Netflix called Outlander. Now, this is a series that the ladies love. So if you want to watch this with your girlfriend or your wife, it's they will absolutely love it. And could spice things up for you. There you go. That's my recommendation.
Husband, by the way, if you want to watch it with your husband. Do you know what I mean? So I presume it's got a lot of sexy men in it. Is that why the ladies like it?
No, it's
yeah.
Don't forget the spikes on the shoulders. No, it's actually about a woman who travels back in time to the time of the Battle of Culloden, or just before the Battle of Culloden, and finds herself embroiled in a whole heap of Highlanders, and actually ends up being forced to marry one of them, and a big romance develops from that. So someone mentioned the name to me. I thought, oh yeah, that might be something we'd like, and we sat there and binged the whole 5 episodes, 5 series or something over about 2 weeks.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the security guard in Victoria used to entice his quarantine victim.
No, I'd say the people who were quarantining were watching Outlander and they were getting a bit too excited.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys. It's really been a pleasure. It's been great fun. I'm going to play us out with a song. And I hadn't decided because I never do, but I'm going to play In a Big Country by Big Country, because when you mentioned Big Country earlier on, it brought back a lot of lovely memories. And In a Big Country was definitely one I remember as a kid. So that's what we're going to go out on. Thank you very much, guys. Goodbye.
Been a
Stay alive.
I'm just going to do the intro again because I was a bit rubbish. Is that all right? Just literally the hellos at the beginning. Okay. Hello and welcome to another edition of Progtor Who Locked Down. I am joined by the podcast presenters from the Sirens of Audio. Dwayne Bunny, hello.
G'day, Bob. It's lovely to see your beautiful bearded face once again.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to see your beautiful face as well. And Philip Edney.
Hi, Bob. How are you going? Great to be here.
I'm good. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining us. That's all I need to do.